All right, let's get started with our coaching session for today. What's going on? I know it's a tough time of year to get new clients to come out and start looking at homes. I mean, have you guys had any luck with having new leads come into your pipelines? Yeah, good.
I had a direct call on my brand new listing on Brookside.
Oh, really?
I had a showing and accepted offer already.
Really?
Nice.
No co-broke. Congratulations. See, so real estate does happen this time of year.
And the best part about it is Karen is dealing with my seller out in Townsend, and they're making an offer with her.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
It's all in the family.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nice. We had it on a couple of days.
Yeah, and it's funny, even this time of year, I would say in general from the next week and a half, it gets a little slower. Mm-hmm. But people are still registering. These are all the registrations just, in the last day, there's been 5 or 6 registrations. Some decent ones too. Framingham, 600, 500 in Acton, 440 in Shrewsbury. A couple of them Google, a couple of them 5 Street. So people are still registering. That's why you can't just back it off. I mean, in general, people do slow down a little bit, but at the same time, they're thinking about their next year already. They're thinking now is the time to do something. And thank you guys for giving us your updates. Those who gave us your updates. Jeff, looks like you've been working on LinkedIn quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
It works out. It just I like LinkedIn because it's all business. It gets rid of all the nonsense that Facebook has.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of junk and garbage on Facebook. LinkedIn, it's all just
absolutely.
They're all straight shooters, post garbage.
Yeah, one of our agents up in the Westford office, Katie, has gotten 5 or 6 referrals from LinkedIn because it's just generally more. And don't underestimate that as a place to post too. Some people do look at the posts and scroll through that stuff. So when you're sharing from your website to Facebook, share to LinkedIn as well. And then the nice part about LinkedIn is you can download your database, which we'll go over in another session. But once you get it built up to a certain size, Jeff, you can download it into an Excel file and then upload it into Sync. So now if you're sending out drip emails every once in a while, like, hey, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, click on this link. They'll go back on your website and you'll see them show up here as someone who logged in recently. So they won't necessarily know that they're looking at homes, but all of a sudden you'll know that they're looking at homes. And they won't have to register again because you added them to the website. And they don't even know that you added them because when you import, you don't have to send out the welcome email. So if you don't send them out the welcome email, they don't even know that they have access to your website. But then if you put them on a long-term drip campaign and just every once in a while an email from Sync to your entire database saying, hey, if you're ever looking for homes, keep me in mind. If you know anybody, I love your referrals. Here's a link to my home buying website, and then here's a link to my home valuation website. If someone from your LinkedIn connected to you on LinkedIn, you have their email address because you exported it and imported it into Sync, and now they click on your website, you're going to see them show up here. Just from the last session we did alone, you guys probably saw when we did a shared Jeff's log home over to a Facebook, and I tagged you in it, said, hey, check out this great listing. And someone, that girl, I forget what her name was, she registered and looked at the log home. Now maybe she's just saying, wow, that's a dream home, and maybe she just clicked on it just to look at pictures and dream a little bit. But what's the power of that? Now, because she clicked, if she was a Facebook friend, she clicks and registers with the Facebook link. Now he's got her phone number and her email address in Sync. And we'll show you guys in the advertising class how you can use that Excel file to put more ads in front of those people on Facebook. So it all works together, and it all helps to build your database, which is awesome. So
what I'd like to know is when you post an ad, how do you get more people to share it? Like at the end of mine, it's please share. Nobody shares it. Like
what kind of ad?
For example, you liked it, but didn't share it. It doesn't say please like, it says please share. So what I've been doing, is there a way to just send out a mass link to IM, Instant Messenger, and say, hey guys, I just posted please share my last post. You know what I mean? Because you put please share on there and nobody does.
I believe there is. I'll look into that.
You know, I mean, it's just
I'll look into that and see if Messenger
and
can
I've been texting my friends. Hey,
do.
share my post, just send them out, send out mass a text. Because when you share, nobody really does.
Yeah, it depends. To get someone to share, they got to have a good reason to.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Maybe they don't like you.
Maybe. Listen, join the club. Wait in line.
maybe.
So,
It's not because I don't like you, Jeff.
Maybe.
well, it's just please share.
Sometimes I share them, sometimes I don't.
So I'm looking at the board too. I
No,
see
it's on the
Dan.
Facebook page.
Dan had a good increase in sync contacts, which is great. If you can average 40 a week addition to sync, that's
That's not additions, that's how many he has total.
oh,
He
it's up
has 39,
8%.
which is up 8%.
Okay. Okay. Well, that needs to be a lot bigger.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Those are total numbers.
I
Those
think
are totals. Okay.
I know Tara 800 too.
Yeah, they're working hard at
Did they
growing.
bring some? He must have imported.
He imported,
He,
yeah.
he imported his LinkedIn connections.
Oh.
So that shows you how you really got to be looking hard at the sync database. The sync database is everything. The more people you have in your sync database, the more powerful it'll be, because we can use that database to advertise to that group. And the thing we have to realize in today's world is we're constantly in a state of ADD. So even your sphere of influence, if they're not reminded about you on a consistent basis, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go to you. And if you might be filling your newsfeed with a mix of personal and business on a weekly basis, and sharing listings and sharing, properties that are available in town. But if you're not steadily interacting with them, then they might not see your stuff at all until you advertise to put it in front of them. And if you're advertising to a 1,000-person database from your sync, it's not going to cost you much money to stay in front of them. Maybe $10 a week, $40 a month to stay in front of your database. So we want to employ that as a way to go about building your business. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on talking about the marketing stuff right now, because we will in the next session. But I do want to talk about your business plans. How are your business plans going? I know, Joe, you had a question on how, and this is a hard question for especially part-timers or people that are just getting in, like, what should I don't know what to expect from myself in the next year. How do I set a goal that is attainable? And I don't even care if it's really attainable. If you said, I'd love to make 100,000 in the next year, let's build a business plan based on it. And I think sometimes we don't want to set a goal because we don't want to disappoint ourselves. But if you set a goal of 100 and you fall short and hit 70, are you going to be okay with that? I would be okay with that. Let's set a goal and build our business plan based on that goal and go after it. And if we fall short of it, it's okay. A lot of coaches will say that you should set your goals super high and be happy with the mediocre results. If you set your goals for 200,000 and you end up making 100,000, you're still in the business. So let's think about that from that perspective and work backwards. So if 100,000 is, if it's 100,000 gross, then it's your average deal probably around here is 5,000 gross commission, and it's 20 deals. If it's you want to net 100,000, you're probably looking at grossing 150, and it's 30 deals to make 150. And then you can build your business plan backwards based on that. So, when we talk about our areas of our 4 key areas of our basically our target, if I'm going to get 30 closings in a year, then my 4 key areas, how do I build those so I make sure I hit 30? Verl Workman will tell you each area you should go after 30, so that if you fall apart in one, you're still going to hit 30 no matter what. That might be a little aggressive. My opinion would be, if your goal is 30 deals per year, then if you planned on each one being 15 deals, that's 60. That's double. And that way, if one of these areas either isn't producing or is just just going to be something you need to wipe out at some point in the year, then you'll know. One of these, as we talked about, should always be your sphere of influence. The hard part about spheres of influence of people that we know, people that know of us, is we really can't predict exactly how many are going to come from that. We can work hard on trying to get 30 deals out of that sphere in the year, but it just may not happen. Op City could be one. I know, Jeff, if you asked that question, sure, it could be one. If you said to yourself, I'm going to get really good at closing Op City leads and I want to close 15 deals with them in the year, then that will be one of your targets. I think always one of your 4 targets should be listings. How do I focus on getting listings? There's good listings, like Sandy's just found out. Good listings bring good buyers. And that buyer could have been fooling around on Zillow, Real.com. It could be that buyer could be on a Remax website. It could have been a Lux client on our database. Who knows? But the end result is they saw your listing and they called you. So getting listings is important, and you want to have one of those be your key areas too. And when in your listing target, make sure you don't say, all right, well, I want to close 15 deals in my listing category, so I just need to take 15 listings. That's obviously not going to be a reality, So you have to think about, if I go after every listing I go after that I get an opportunity to meet with, hopefully I get 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3. So you have to start to figure out, backwards how many listing appointments you need to get 15 saleable listings, and it might be 50 to 60. So you might be wanting to go on one a week, and how am I going to, from there you're going to develop, how am I going to get those listings? Is it going to be an all online advertising campaign, which we'll go through in the next session, how to build a listing, advertising campaign? Will it be some of them may come from your sphere of influence, maybe expireds. I know, Jeff, you've worked with expireds for sale by owners. Of those opportunities. So, but a lot of agents head into the year thinking, I want listings. I don't know where they're going to come from, so I'm not really going to focus on it. And you get what you focus on, and you get what you think about more than you realize. So if you've got your goal up there, I'm going to take and sell 15 listings. I'm going to have to take 30 listings to sell 15, and I'm going to need to go on 60 appointments to get 30 sellable, to get 30 listings to sell 15. Then you're always looking at that target and you're thinking, where is that listing opportunity? Who's thinking about selling? Who's in a situation where, they just had another baby and they're living in a small house. When you start to think about it, you start to find opportunities in your mind that you might have missed otherwise. So we want to put it on our target, and we want to think about it. And then one may be, your own buyer lead generation sources, running ads on Facebook, getting them to land on the website, getting them to come out of the woodwork and work with you. So hopefully that helps you guys with kind of how to build this target. And I want you guys to get to a point where you at least have a first or second draft by the time we have our next session on 1/7. Because if you don't have your business plan in writing, ready to go by the second week of January, you're going to start the year off on a bad foot. So get something on paper. Nadine, I think we have copies here if you don't have. Does everybody have a copy of it?
Yeah, we have that right there.
The
Yeah.
whole business plan thing.
Oh.
Yeah, you got it in front of you. So, and I want to see them. The biggest thing they say about business plans is, and this is a harsh reality when you think about it, but if you don't share it with anybody, you're likely to just forget about it and not really work it. And then when you don't reach your goals that you put on that first draft, you're going to be like, all right, well, you're going to have some excuse. It's going to be, yeah, well, I didn't have enough money to advertise, or, all these leads are crap, or my family is preventing me from being successful, or, you're going to come up with all those excuses in your head. And you want to really think about those excuses now, which is why this the part of the goal sheet here asks you what your goal is and what your excuses for failure are. Identify the excuses for failure now. This is really important, because if you don't tell yourself what your excuse is going to be now, when the excuse comes, you're just going to go with the excuse. But if you tell yourself, hey, I already know that I'm going to make this excuse when this doesn't happen, then you are, when that excuse is getting ready to come out of your head, when you're right at that point, you're going to say, no, I can't make that as an excuse. I already told myself that was going to be my excuse, so I'm not going to let myself be won over by the excuse. So make sure you're really identifying your excuses. But one of the I was telling you guys earlier that I was listening to this guy Jay Shetty on the ride over here, and one of the things that when he was a monk that he basically hit some of his enlightenments were, you really have to figure out if you really want to accomplish a goal and you want to make a difference and feel good about what you're doing, you have to figure out what you're best at and what your passions are, and those have to be driven around your goals. So for instance, like, yeah, the money's great and the money can bring us certain things. And we talked about last week, like, what would you do if you reached your goals? What are some of the small dreams you have, and what are some of the big dreams that might be longer term that you have that you would accomplish if you reached your goals in the next year? And those can be factors that keep you going towards that end result. But the day-to-day, you also have to, I believe, you have to know what your passion is and why you're doing what you're doing. So yes, you might, there's some things you're going to say, well, I'm doing this because it'll help me reach my goal, and I'll be able to go on that Disney vacation next year. Or if I reach my goals, it'll allow me to buy a new car by the spring, which I really need. So that's going to hopefully keep me driving. But then on top of that, if you can tie in, I'm really passionate about helping people. I really think that, most people head into buying their first home and they have no idea what they're doing. And there's a bunch of agents out there that aren't really well representing those buyers, and you hear horror stories. I want to be better than that. I want to provide a great experience to those people because I know how pleasurable that can be, helping people reach their goal. So figure out what your passions in real estate are. Is it helping buyers buy their first homes? Is it helping people move from one home into their next home, and figuring out the very complex situation of, what do I do first? Do I list first? Do I find my perfect house first? How do I get from A to B, and all those things in between? And that might be your passion. But if you think of it from those perspectives and what your passions are, then the day-to-day becomes easier, because every time you make that next phone call to that next new lead that registered, you're not approaching it like, I need to get them to buy with me. You're thinking about it from a perspective of, these people likely need help. Everybody pretty much needs help buying or selling a house. If it was an easy thing, then our industry would already be gone. It's been here, I don't know how long. How long is it? 80 years, 100 years? More than that, probably.
Why are you looking at me?
I don't know. I know you've been
Maybe 100
you've been doing it 40 years,
45.
45. And there's still, even though there's these companies that would like to think they can commoditize real estate and make it a commodity where real estate agents are needed, it's never going away, because real estate is a complex situation for people, and it's not easy. So people need our help, and the better we are at helping people, the more protected our industry will be. From a service perspective, if we just treat it like an online transaction, then we're going to get paid less and less as time goes on. So really think of a perspective of, how can I achieve my passion by making sure that every client I work with is the utmost pleasurable experience, to the point where they would just constantly recommend me to other people. Some of our agents are extremely good at that. Spencer's extremely good at that. He's constantly, every client he closes has just outwardly, without even asking, says openly, like, this was an amazing experience. I would recommend Spencer to anybody. And everybody here in the room is getting the same kind of things, and that's what we want to accomplish. And from a perspective of calling new leads, every time you pick up the phone, you should be thinking about, like, this might be another person I can help provide another experience like I just provided someone else. And that'll make you approach that call from a helping perspective as opposed to, you want to buy a house? Let's buy a house. You want to buy a house? Let's buy a house. Use me, use me, use me. There was I shared on Facebook a very short clip from a guy that talked about this. Did you guys watch that? His philosophy is about give, 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 then ask. And I think it's a great approach to real estate. Too often, real estate agents, they get that initial lead in that first phone call, or even the request for showing from 5 Street, and it's, let's go out and show you the house and buy the house. That's going to happen like 1% of the time probably. Even if they requested from 5 Street, from Real.com to see a property, my guess is that the times they buy that house are 1% of the time. And most real estate agents will quit on that first attempt. I've had agents, even Real.com in their coaching sessions, they'll always say that the best chance to convert those people is the 6th, 7th phone call. It's 2 to 3 a month down the road. There's been a lot of success with those leads calling them 4 months later. They initially requested a property, and you call them 4 months later, say, hey, I know a while back you were interested in a property over there on blank blank, and just wanted to see if you were still in the market. I'd love to help if I can. And that's where the conversions come. So you got to think about it from a perspective of, I'm just here to help people, and I'm here to help. And what do you have in your hands right now that you have available to you to help? You guys know? What things do you bring to somebody who needs to buy or sell real estate? Experience, knowledge, experience. That's a big one. What else? Availability. Yeah, that's a good one I didn't think about. Resources. You have an abundant level of resources. You have everybody within our organization. If 99% of the time, if you have a question that you can't answer, someone else has that answer within our group, and that's important to be able to lean on. And then your tools. You have incredible tools to keep people up to date on what's coming on the market, to help people understand the process of buying and selling a home, and your knowledge. And one of the things I've been talking about with Nadine, one of the things we're going to start adding to the website and adding to the drip campaigns is, I know some of you aren't comfortable with videos. So I'm going to put out some videos that are attached to the website, but also attached to the long-term drip campaign. So if someone registers on the website and they get on the long-term nurture campaign, it'll be of a giving perspective of, hey, you're on our website looking for homes. Here's a few things you need to be thinking about as you head down the road. Why you should get pre-approved and when. Why you shouldn't fear that, taking that first step. What you should be looking for and getting in your daily listing alerts, and just helpful hints. And then a series of videos that are tied to those emails to bring value to them. So, a lot of agents say, well, you're on my website, you're getting listing alerts. That's a value. It is a small value, but they can get that value anywhere. Can they get the advice and the consulting they need to help them through the process everywhere? No. There's not many companies that offer that. Most companies treat it like, all right, I got your name and number. How can I get you right now to agree to buy or sell with me? And most agents are missing the boat on the longer term follow-up, where most of the business can be won. Is, yes, you're seeing my name and face every day on email, and now I'm going to start advertising in front of you on Facebook too. But what's going to make you decide when you are ready who to use? It's still maybe somebody they know, because they still trust them more than they trust you because they don't know you yet. But maybe you've built up some trust factor if you've given consistently to them. The other one may be, path of least resistance. We say that if you're getting listing alerts from me, then if you get to the point where you're ready to buy and you don't know anybody still, then I'm probably the path of least resistance to get you to buy with me. So that might be a possibility. But the stronger possibility is, how much have you given before you've asked? Have you really taken on a giving attitude of, I'm just here to help people buy and sell real estate in the most pleasurable way possible? with at least the least stress possible and with the most success, and to get you to your dreams and help you start living, the life that you want in the new home. So that's where we want to get to. We want to come from a giving perspective. Would you guys agree with that? So identify your strengths. Where, one of the things that Jay Shetty also talked about in this video, and I think it's very important for where we're heading with our business plans, is typically, I don't know anybody that's really setting a business plan for the same amount that they made this year. So if you're increasing your goals beyond what you did this year, then what is it going to take? It's going to take different habits. It's going to take more of certain habits. It's going to take you operating at a different level than you're operating now or this year. You may have at certain times this year operated on those levels. Certain days you might have operated on those levels, but you're going to need more of those if you have had those days or those weeks or those months. And you're going to have to, basically create new habits. So one of the things that he talked about in this video was the 3 things that he thinks about to get into his perfect zone is the first one was element. Like, am I in my right element? Is my mind on right for the task at hand? And if it's not, what are some of the habits I need to do to make sure that I am in the right mindset? The other one is environment. Is the environment around me what I need to maximize my success? This is an important one because in real estate, I find that a lot of times agents can't get into that right environment at home. Or they say, well, I got my phone and my laptop and wherever I am in a business. But are you the most productive?
Well, Jeff, you even said since you've been coming to the office, you're a lot more productive, right? A lot more focused.
Yeah, there's no Netflix here, so definitely.
Right.
I'm sorry, you can't watch Netflix in the background and be productive.
No,
You'd like to think you could, because that would be awesome. If you could bang through a bunch of Netflix series while working.
it doesn't work. No,
It doesn't work.
not at all.
It doesn't work. So we need to have the right environment. Does it have to mean it has to be every day of the week? No. But we should start to think about where are we most productive and where are we most focused? What do I need to do when I, if you define that environment and it's here, it's the office, we've got plenty of office space for anybody who wants to come in and have a desk, is all right, I have my right environment in place. This is where I'm most productive. And then if I'm not in the right headspace when I come in, then how do I get myself in the right headspace? For most people, if you do it in the morning, then you don't wake up just automatically in a bad mood. It's usually some kind of influence around us that sets us off on a tangent where you're like, oh, I just had to take the nasty call from that client, and now I'm in a shitty-ass mood. So now, if you're gonna, run into those circumstances, how do I get myself in that right mood before I start prospecting, so I don't take my baggage from earlier and throw it on somebody else? So maybe it means listening to something motivational on an Audible app on your phone or YouTube.
That's one of my weaknesses. I have such a hard time reading or listening to tapes or just
You can't listen to audio as I listen to Audible as I'm driving
shoot
around.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't do it. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another shot.
Maybe it's a different type of medium. Have you ever listened to those if you Google YouTube motivational speakers, they have those almost like sports players that come on and start yelling and those. I mean, some people react well to those. Maybe it's just looking at your business plan before you start your prospecting day. Every day you get in that prospecting mode that we can all figure out how to manage. Once we have a client that wants to look at houses, committed to using us, and they just are continuing to look at houses until they find the right house, you're kind of just on autopilot once you hit that space. But getting someone to that point, that's where most of us lose out, because we're not setting ourselves up in the right environment with the right element to make sure that we make those new calls, offer our help to those new people, to get them under our wings and get them, committed. And then we can march on with our autopilot from them typically, but we have to get into that right element first. And I think looking at your business plan is a great one. Listening to something motivational before you make those calls. Those can all, looking at your whys, looking at identifying, or maybe you have a little poster on your wall that says, these were my short-term dreams and my long-term dreams. My short-term dream is to go book a trip to Disney by April 1st. And in order to do so, I have to have 4 closings before April 1st. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to do that. And you look at that, and then you're opening up your sync and you're making your calls or calling your database. One of the things I'd recommend beginning of the year is always just call everybody in your database. Say, hey, Happy New Year. Hope you had a great Christmas and great New Year's. Just curious if you or anybody you know is looking to do anything in real estate this year. I'm working on my business plan for the year, and I'd love to help. It's just a great way to just march through your database and call everybody you know, and just, I know a lot of agents say, this time of year people are busy, they're not going to listen to my call, and that may be true. For some it will, for some it won't. But if you call after the first of the year, it's just a reminder. And even if you leave them a message and they never call you back, it's another positive impression that you've left with them. But so we need to get our head on straight. We need to get our environment to be the best suited for our success, and the energy. What kind of energy is going on around you. If you're getting ready to go in your prospect hours, don't go on Facebook and see all the tragedy going on. Don't turn on the news. Put on some music in the background. If you respond positively in music, a lot of people respond positively in music. Put it on low. So think about those things, because you're going to have to create habits, especially around your prospecting time, that are going to make you successful. And you probably, if you thought about it, you probably already could identify a few of those. Like, yeah, this is when I've been in the groove. For me, with going on vacation and having the flu and then having a sinus infection, I didn't go to the gym for 2 weeks. And I kind of, in my own mind, I kind of work out to be better at work. And for me, that works. For some people, that gives them, like, I don't know what it is, the endorphins or whatever it takes. I just know that I'm better at work when I work out. Some people think like, oh, that's just going to, and I even, like, before I was trying to force myself to go yesterday to the gym, I'm like, I'm tired. This is just going to make me more tired. And then I'm like, no, I got to go, because I know that when I leave there, I'm going to be tired for like 10 minutes, and then I'm going to have all this energy that I can't even stop. So whatever works for you, figure out what it is. Maybe it's, being able to take a day off every week and go for a walk, or, I don't know what it is, but figure out what works for you. You know yourself better than anybody. Figure out what it is that makes you tick and what puts you in that right frame of mind to be ready to say, all right, I'm opening up my sync and I'm going to make 20 calls in the next hour and a half. I don't know. I'm going to go through and figure out who I need to call, why I need to call them, and start making my calls. And whatever that is, figure that out and create that habit. If you just say, well, this is my prospecting time, I got to do it. For most of us, that's probably not enough. It's, all right, this is what I need to do. My prospecting time is in the office. It's going to be 2-hour chunks. It's going to be 3 days a week. When I get there, I'm going to open up my business plan. I'm going to read it over, read it through my short-term goals, long-term goals, turn on a little music, and I'm going to get to work. So figure out what that is and go after it. The other thing to figure out is, where are your strengths, and how can you build your business around those strengths? For me, my strengths are the numbers. So clearly, if I'm selling real estate and not just trying to grow my company, my strength is in the numbers. So that tells me I should focus more on listings than buyers. Driving a first time, I love helping people. I love making them smile, but personally for me, driving a buyer around for 30 hours trying to find them a house is like, I want to stab myself in the throat. Because I look at it from a perspective of like, come on, I've shown you 5 houses that are perfect for you, and you're just too afraid to pull the trigger, and that drives me insane. But some of you, it's like some people really love that part of the business. It's like, this is what I really love. I love getting to that closing table and showing up at the closing and them seeing the tears well up in their eyes as they're signing the mortgage documents. And so you've got to figure out what makes you tick and what your strengths are, and try to build your business plan more so around your strengths than anything else. For some, and just work it. So, any questions with that stuff? Any parts of the business plan you're struggling with figuring out? Let me just scroll through this. So the one thing I did want to talk about is, I know you guys are probably going to struggle with, and as you're building this, is all right, I've got my 4 key areas of my business that I'm going to be focusing on. I've kind of built out what my costs are going to be for that. The pipeline sheet will also help you with that. And then you've got your goals and your action items. Anybody starting to get into their action plans and having trouble with that? The due dates could be a monthly, it could be a date, it could be ongoing, but you need to figure out what your actions are going to be that are going to lead you to those goals in those 4 key areas. If your goal is 20 to 30 deals a year, can you hustle your butt off and not spend a lot of money on marketing? Probably. But I think any really good real estate business should be backed with some marketing spend, especially if your goal are listings. Probably the best way of identifying people that are thinking about selling is through advertising on Facebook and people clicking on a home value. Or one of the things we'll go over is having a report available for people to give first before you're asking them to sell with you, is preparing your home for sale, and giving them information on how they should be starting to think about the selling process. But advertising is one of the ways we want to do that. So our action plans can be both our own efforts, and action items on the action plan can also be marketing pieces. And what I really want to do is have you guys do is any of the action items that are in your goal portion of your business plan that require you to advertise. Like one of your items might be, if you're going after listings, is to run a home value ad on Facebook weekly. And it's a weekly item. And it's you, because if you don't have an admin, it's you. Right? If we don't have any help, then we are help. And eventually, as our business scales, we can decide which items, we won't. But so from there, you're identifying key areas where, if my goal was take 30 listings, that was one of my key areas this year. So I want to take 30 listings and I'm going to sell 50, sell minimum 15. So one of them is an advertising base. Another one might be calling 3 FSBOs a week. Another one might be mailing 5 expired mailers a week. Another one might be sharing home value ad on my wall and LinkedIn. That one might be monthly. So you're going to start to identify all the tasks that you want to do per your goal. And if you have these drafted and you're struggling with ideas, we will be able to help you if we see what you have on paper so far. But from this, our goal should be is to create a marketing plan, an advertising plan, because from the 4 sections that you're working, if one of them is your sphere, one of them's helping first-time home buyers, one of them's taking 30 listings, and I don't know what the 4th one is going to be. Maybe it'll be Op City. But either way, you're going to have you're probably going to identify 4 to 5 ongoing campaigns that you need to do through advertising to hit these 4 areas. And so we want to identify a marketing campaign of what are we doing to advertise and market to drive these goals. Because once you start doing that, you'll be able to identify how much it's going to cost per lead. And we'll get into that on the 12 o'clock session more in depth, but we really want to identify a very in-depth action plan for every one of our key areas. Anybody have a question on that?
I have a helpful hint. I don't have a
Okay.
question, but when I did my action plan and I broke all these action items out, I then took those and I created a to-do list based on my action items so that I didn't forget to do anything. And then I took those and I put them into my perfect week scheduler so that this is what every morning I come in now and I look at this and I make a list of all my to-dos for the day. And I do look back at my action plan too, just to make sure I'm not missing anything, because there's a lot involved in these. And especially when you start breaking down all the tasks, if you're not reviewing it, you're not going to remember what you were thinking you wanted to do. So I just did that. So if you've got something like this that you can look at, and these are the things I have to get done, and then anything else that shows up. So if anybody wants to come in and do a one-on-one coaching session with me, then I'll fit that in here. If whatever it is, if we have a new agent coming in for onboarding, I fit that in here. But these are the things I have to do every day to make sure that I'm working toward this plan. And then I check off my to-do list as things are getting done too. So it's just kind of taking this and then breaking it down even further so that it's really, really specific and actionable. And then giving yourself a schedule so that you're not forgetting what to do or when to do it. Otherwise, you just feel like, oh yeah, I gotta remember I'm gonna share 1 listing per week, and all of a sudden it's 2 months later, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't share a listing yet. So, just another helpful hint.
Yeah, and if you don't, see that? This is their weekly perfect week.
That's in that you can find in the AMP training section.
Okay.
In the instead of BAM, it's in the AMP training.
Okay.
I mean, I can print those off for you too, but.
Yeah, at minimum, if you don't get it into a schedule, I don't know, for whatever reason, and maybe this is a thing I need to get over, is having, like, putting everything in the schedule like that. Like, I don't know, I have trouble with that.
I have to be scheduled.
But if I do have, like, and I am developing it for 2019, what my perfect week should look like, what I need to accomplish in a week. Like, run 1 recruiting ad, one listing focused ad, have 3 meetings with potential recruits, run the coaching sessions, all these things that are, if I did this every week, went on 3 listing appointments, met with 3 recruits, blank, then I know if I'm hitting that every week, then the results are gonna show up. So
You can also do it as like a weekly checkoff list.
Right.
It's
Yes.
not like,
So
Yeah,
I
I'm
want to
kind
do
of
it
like
like
that.
this.
Like if I put it into certain
Yeah.
days.
because I mean, that to me, the week I'd spend half my week moving stuff around in there.
Yeah.
But if I knew that, I'd be like, oh, I plan on it this time, but oh no, the nanny got sick. Can't.
Well, and I don't necessarily keep, like, if it says, like, I have to call 5 agents at 2 o'clock on Monday to tell them about the Lux opportunity. Like, I'm going to do it whenever I get to it. So I'm not as specific as it says, but it's just a reminder that if I want to recruit new agents in, if I'm not calling at least 5 per day, so I'm calling like 25 a week, my hope is that 1 or 2 eventually will join, because it's another one of those conversion things. Like, it's all in the numbers. I like numbers too. So yeah, the more people you can reach out to, however you're doing it. So, and that's why, like, I now have a blog. I now have my own personal website. I've got stuff I'm posting on my Facebook business page. I've got stuff I'm posting out to all my other, like, the Focused on Southbridge group. And I have all these different areas so that I'm not trying to just get referrals from one place only. Because I know it's hard to get referrals, especially if the referrals I'm getting, I'm then referring to someone else. It's not really for me because I'm not doing this actively. I just want to refer people. So it's going to be even harder for me to get them because people are going to be like, oh, why am I going to refer someone to you?
You identified a couple weeks ago that you wanted to do that. And what did you just do?
I just got one.
Right?
Yes.
So
exactly.
when you put your mind on something, it's amazing.
Exactly.
How,
Law of attraction.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, my brother-in-law just decided, well, he's been talking about this for years. When I first got licensed over 2 years ago, he was talking about selling that house. And finally I was like, he's never gonna sell this freaking house. And all of a sudden, it's like, that's it, I'm done. My sister's like, I have a referral for you. I'm like, you do? She's like, yeah, 25 Cohasset Street. I was like, oh, who owns it? And she's like, well, Ed. I was like, oh, I don't know the property address. I figured it was his neighbor. Like, and you're referring them to me. She's like, no, Ed. I was like, oh my God, finally. So
Right.
yeah, so I've got my first referral in there. So, you know, and it's all, and then even like with, like I've run a couple of ads where I'm not getting people to necessarily provide me any information, but they're like the one I forget what it was even before the one I just did. Whatever it was. Anyways, I think it had to do with, I think it was a recruiting one. And I had, no one sent me information or requested information, but I had about 15 people like the post.
Mhm.
And I had posted it on my business page. So I invited them to like my business page and about 5 of them did. So now I've got 5 more people that are following my business page.
Right.
So maybe
Right.
they'll eventually turn into something. You never know.
Right. And that's why it's not always about the real estate. You know,
Exactly.
it's like, I know, Jeff, you asked, like, why are people not sharing? Yet you post something stupid and 10 people will share it.
Right.
I got 2 shares actually.
You know what I mean?
Since I said that.
But, you know, so think about it
I
from
had
a,
to text people. Share it.
we'll talk about this in the next session also, but anytime you're advertising, anytime you're trying to get people to notice it, people to like it, people to watch it, if it's a video, people to share it, think about a perspective of, is it share worthy? Is it like worthy? You think about the stuff that goes viral and you're like, yeah, I caught myself watching it. I still don't understand how 1.1 million people watch this thing. So, is it something silly that happened that, you know what I mean? I've seen some of the stuff that go viral is just stuff you run into every day as an agent, like weird things you see at a home inspection.
Right.
Interesting houses. You're out showing houses and all of a sudden you see a really amazing looking kitchen or something like that. Like, wow, look at this kitchen. And you post a picture of it and with a link to that property in your website, you might get more interaction from that than just sharing that listing from the website. Because if you're just sharing the listing from the website, what are they going to see is the picture and then the link. They're going to see whatever that agent picked as the very first photo. It's usually the outside of the house. And that may be not the most attractive picture in the house. But now you say, oh, I was just out showing an incredible home and this kitchen's amazing. Just wanted to share it. Here's a link to it if if you're interested in it. That's a much more powerful opportunity to get people to like it, share it, whatever it may be. So think about it from that perspective. Is it catchy? That's why when you're even sharing like towns or price ranges from the website onto your page, you should be thinking about from what's going to make people click. If it's just like, oh, if you're thinking about buying a home, click on my website, kind of boring. If it's like, check out the hottest new listings available in Shrewsbury, that's more appealing. Maybe it'll make them think like, oh, maybe they got listings nobody else has. If that's why I say the power of even adding on your properties tab, adding a manual listing in and advertising it. That's an off-market or coming soon property, or even a for sale by owner. If you say, hey, would you mind if I add it on my website and see if anybody on the website is interested in it?
Walk me through that, because that log cabin, I'm taking one, not right this second, but I mean, some other time. So I'm taking that log cabin off the market until March.
Yeah, if you sign an off-market MLS listing, but you don't
That's right.
cancel it and you don't cancel your listing agreement, you can cancel the MLS listing. Doesn't mean your listing agreement cancel. A listing agreement and an MLS listing are two separate things. So even if you have a 6-month listing agreement and you sign an off-market MLS sheet today and it's been listed on the market for 3 months, you just cancel it in MLS. You still have the ability to market that property. I'd tell your seller, hey, while we're resetting the days on the market, I want to continue to market in case we find that one buyer that says that's a perfect home. Why would we completely hide the property from everybody in the world? Let's put it out there privately, off MLS. So then once you have that off MLS form signed and it's in .loop, you go to properties, add a pocket listing, and you just add all the information like you would build a MLS listing, add the photos, you can add all your photos, hit save, and now that property is going to be listed on the website. And all you have to do at that point is just find it and click on it and share it from the website. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if this was my pocket listing,
Because I think that's what we're gonna do now until spring, just.
yeah,
back-
and then you
back
just
here.
share it on Facebook, and I would identify it as an off-market opportunity. You click on share, your Facebook opens up, and I would write in there like off-market opportunity, not available on MLS. Call if you're interested in it, or click for more details. When they click, they're likely going to want to register because they can't go to Realtor.com and see that. They can't go to Zillow.com and see that. That's where you'll get some great opportunities for lead capture because nobody else has it, just you. Does that make sense? So if you think about what's going to make people want to click on my website and register, off market is great. They can't back out of your website because when you think about it, when people click from a Facebook free share to all your friends or a paid ad that you just paid to boost it to people in a certain area, what's going to make them click? Most people are just going to click. They're going to be like, I'm interested in the house and click. But then you're going to have a bounce rate. You're going to have people that say, oh, they're making me register. I'm out of here. But when they open up that link and that pop-up comes up, they can probably see in the background like the address. Some people will just take the address, get off of your website, not register, go to Zillow or Realtor.com, find the property there. You could just Google an address and you'll find the link to Zillow, the link to Realtor.com, any of the other ones. So some people just won't register. So, but if you have something that makes them want to register, then you're more likely to get them to register. And anytime you get a lead capture, if you get a lead capture for $3 to $10, what do you have? You have someone in your database forever, unless they unsubscribe. And I can tell you the unsubscribe rate is pretty low.
Yeah.
Pretty low. So for the most part, you've just acquired someone's information that you can stay in front of for as long as you're in business. And agents have literally retired on their databases, literally retired and brought someone under their wing later in their career and said, all right, when I decide to slow down, you're going to start taking over my database and you're going to pay me 25% on everything that closes. And literally collecting referral fees forever. There's a couple people I know that have done that very well. Moved to Florida and still making 50 to 70 grand off their database. So database is powerful. It's the most powerful thing you have access to. And the more information in it, the better. That's why even when you're making your calls for security of database, if you don't have their address, there's ways to find people's address. You know what town they live in. They own a home. You could go on public records and without asking them, find out what their address is and stick it into sync. Make sure you have as much information as possible in your database, and then you own them. You got their name, you got their phone number, you got their email address, you got their mailing address. That's pretty powerful as long as you do something with it. But any other questions? All right, let's end this session, take a little break, and then we'll do the advertising session. And for those of